Hi, Thrifty Tim here. Today I'm doing a different video than what I normally do. What got me to thinking about doing it this way was from Grammaticus Books. I think his channel's called. I'll leave a link to his the video that he put up today, but every every Veterans Day he does a video where he's talking about something from when he was in the Navy. Well, and talked, we've talked some through the comments, like I told him that it was Air Force. Well, anyway, I'm going to do the same thing. See, he was in the Navy, and I was in the Air Force from. I went on active duty on March 26th. 1982. That was my grandma's birthday, and I was I was discharged. My discharge date was May 14th, 1992. So I was in for a little over 10 years, and I was enlisted. I was a computer maintenance technician, so I repaired computers and computer equipment and related stuff. Well, but most of the work-related stuff I'll be talking about is from because is from between from the between May May of 1985 through May of 91, because the stuff that I worked with on those other two sides, it was classified, and I can't really talk about. So I'm talking about. So during the time I'm limiting this to is it's from when I was stationed in Zweibrücken Air Base, Germany. I was there to like a couple months before they closed the base. But now it's Zweibrücken Airport. See, Zweibrücken's in the Rhineland-Pfalz district of Germany. It's just just a little bit north of the northern French border. There was a part of the base where we had our equipment, where on a clear day we could see into France from the base. That's how close we were to France. But anyway, this was a tactical reconnaissance base, and with like the planes they flew at the time, or RF-4Cs, 4C Phantoms. It was a tactical reconnaissance version of the F-4, where it had, instead of having guns on it, it had cameras for doing aerial reconnaissance. well, anyway, with like I said, I was a computer maintenance technician, and these what these the equipment was I worked on. I worked on the I worked on the shelters where they did photo interpretation or photo interpretations and stuff where they once they landed they bring the film to these shelters and they can we had two stations in the shelters and so they would have two rows being looked at the same time in there and well anyway these but people looking at them it looked like big boxes on wheels pretty much. But these shelters that I worked on were heavy. They were 10 tons just for the shelter, and we lowered them or took the wheels off when we weren't using them for moving them around. So, but anyway. Like I'm so a lot with most of the stuff I talked about with what I worked on was with those and but so what I'm and see I know the Army and Marines both had shelters had this type of shelter also, but with the base I was at with this, and this was still during the Cold War, towards the end of the Cold War, you could say. Well, anyway, the base I was at was they also used as for or with our equipment, they'd also use it for trying for some for test as a test site for testing different stuff and like new methods and stuff. And well, anyway. So why I'm talking about this is because see we also had radio equipment in these shelters, so because there was some equipment in them that would take data real time over the certain radio frequencies. Well, with the ones on our base, they may we had done an approved modification just for the shelters on our base, because for the real-time stuff they made it so we could we had to do some work with the radio equipment where we could transmit out like the the interpreters and like the government contractors could talk to the pilots while real time, so when they're still in the air. Well, anyway, because the reason I'm telling you about this is because of one time there was a unit that was where the base was in that here in the States or here in the U.S. and they were going to Aviano Air Base in Italy for an exercise, and because they had to go over to Europe, some like I'm not sure whether it was every year or like every other year. Well, anyway, and this was like in like January or February, and we and with us in the there's were a number of us in the maintenance branch had to we had to fly down and in like I think it was a C-141 or something like that. I can't remember the numbers of them, but of course it was mainly for hauling the equipment in, and of course we have to sit in the comfy troop seats. Like when I say comfy, it was the opposite. But anyway, with the time of the year that we were doing it, because we were there for like 2 or 3 weeks before they got there, and there were some of us that skied, and with our shelter, with the shelter with the equipment I worked on that we were taking down. Of course, our shelter there was an aisleway going out all along in the middle of the shelter between the two stations, so that so what we did is all of us that had skis and ski equipment, we packed all of it up, tied it down in the aisles there, because there's Aviano, Italy, is up in like the north eastern part of Italy. Like they've like I know they based some stuff there, like for going to the what used to be Yugoslavia and stuff. That was close enough for doing that from there. Well, anyway, we packed up had our ski equipment packed up in there, and once we got to Italy, we pulled our ski equipment out, and then we'd be doing, and so we'd be setting up our equipment. There were another guy from my shop and I, where we were setting up our equipment, getting it and checking everything out, because we need to make sure everything was working. Otherwise, we'd have to be getting it fixed before they got there from the States. Well, anyway, so one of the things we had to check is we had to do checking the radio, making sure we could receive and communicate over it. And so we call, can't remember whether it was like I think we called their comms unit, their communications, and asked, hey, is there a frequency? What frequency can we use for doing a radio check? And they gave us a frequency. And this guy and I, okay, we went there and we checked it. And we just left the radio on while we were still doing other work in there. Well, a little bit later, we started hearing airplanes on there, or pilots in airplanes, and air traffic controllers. It ends up being that the frequency they gave us was a backup frequency for their air traffic control. So we were in there and hearing them talking with the air traffic controllers guiding the planes in and stuff, and we just busted out laughing. And that was the work part of it. The rest are things we did when we weren't working during that time. And like, of course, we went skiing on the weekends. But the weird thing was, like, we'd have, like, sometimes we'd have to rent cars for doing it. And the cars, they were old VW Beetles. So we're cramming like 4 people in one of those, and we'd have to take like 2 or 3 of them for all of us to get up there, because it was like a half-hour drive to this ski slopes. Well, anyway, so we'd do that on the weekends. Well, anyway, so, and we'd want stuff to take along with us. We all had photo bags with us, and what we'd each of us would get some Apfelkorn, which is like it was a German alcohol made from apples. It was fermented and stuff, and we'd get that and have in those. So, to say at times when we were skiing, we weren't feeling much pain when we wiped out. So, well, anyway, so that about the thing was, and also during the week, of course, we'd go eat out in the evenings. That we usually didn't eat on base. We'd go off base, and well, anyway, there's in the town of Aviano there was a restaurant there. It was a barbecue restaurant. Well, and before we went there, like, we had some of the guys, like, some were from Texas even, and they said that's the best barbecue that they've ever had. So when we went there, first of all, okay, we had the appetizer. Next, and there's more than just like 2 or 3 courses. There's like 4 or 5 courses there in Italy, because there's appetizers. Then there's pasta is their own course, And then after that is the main course. And then the dessert. So we were stuffed by the time we left there. And yes, the barbecue was excellent. But that's when but it was there in Italy too that I discovered tortellini. I think it's tortellini alla panna or alla piranha or something like that. It's in a white sauce and stuff, and so that's some. So we go there, and also we end up going and getting a small portable grill, one of the cheap ones that and some charcoal, because it would be comfortable out there on base when we were there. But so sometimes we just get steak sandwiches, girl, let them out behind our out behind where we were billeted at there, and but so we'd grill, and then of course after that, like, we'd go to a bar, go to a bar where and just have a good time there. But anyway, there was one evening where, okay, we were making the steaks up back, and there's a guy that we called Bruiser. I won't tell you his actual name. Bruiser was his name, and he was a bigger guy. Well, I'll get back. I'll take that call later. Well, anyway, anyway, one evening we were doing the barbecuing, and he was eating a clove of garlic. He was eating the garlic like we'd eat an apple. He had plenty of it. Well, after we had gotten done eating and cleaned up, and we went to the bar. We were at a longer table. His breath was so strong that we had to have him sitting way at the opposite end of a long table from the rest of us. That's it. So, but if you couldn't tell, we did plenty of drinking. That was during off duty, and well, anyway, but the thing is that, like, a lot of the guys liked and with me, I was a Jack guy. So, but anyway, during the time we were there, we had bought out the Jim Beam that they had there at the base liquor store. I think we also had bought out all the apple corn, and they weren't going to get any until after we left there. But so that's So that's my my memories from Aviano. Had a fun time there. It was my first time in Italy. I was in Italy a few years later for NATO exercise, but in a different part of Italy and stuff. So that's all I have for this video, and so for all of you veterans that watching, thank you for your service, and so until next time, so that's all I have for this video. So until next time, keep on rocking and reading.